Hello, little Timmies. And today we're going to be talking about 5 NBA teams that will surprise you in the NBA playoffs. But before we get into that, don't forget to like and subscribe. I heard that once you subscribe, you could be all different colors, like blue, green, yellow, orange. So, once you subscribe, comment down below what your color is. So let's get right into the video. Okay, so number 5 for teams that can make a surprise this season, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. And the Philadelphia 76ers are currently 5th in the Eastern Conference. I think they can make a surprise because they have Joel Embiid, who's really good. It's looking like they're not going to trade Ben Simmons until the end of the season. They're going to try to pursue James Harden in the next week, see if they can get James Harden to the trade deadline. But if that goes to plan, then the Sixers will be really good. But they have players like Tyrese Maxey, but I could see them make it deep in the playoffs because they have Joel Embiid, Seth Curry. They could possibly make a trade with the Portland Trail Blazers. But yeah, I have them at number 5 because I could see them being a underdog this season. Okay, and then number 4, I have the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks are 5th in the West right now. They have Luka, Kristaps Porzingis. They both been playing really good. Luka's been averaging a 30-point triple-double in the last, 7 games. But they've been playing really good defense. I could see them trading Dorian Finney-Smith at the trade deadline, maybe even Jalen Brunson. But I could see, because especially right now with the Western Conference, how weak it is because of injuries, I could see them being able to make a run just because of how good their defense is. And Luka's just very good in the playoffs. He hasn't made it past the first round yet in his career, but both those times he's played the Clippers, and they had Kawhi and Paul George, and it was pretty close in those 2 series. Okay, and then for number 3, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs, they are young. Their team doesn't really have much playoff experience, but they're the 3 seed. And they play really good defense. They're currently 3rd in the league in defensive rating. And they have guys like Darius Garland, Jared Allen. But they're in a really competitive East. But I could see them making it to the conference finals, even the finals maybe. But it would be a stretch to make it to the finals. But I could see them beating a team like Milwaukee, maybe. They are higher than them in the rankings though, but yeah, I can see them beating one of the contenders that we wouldn't think that they could have. Like a team like the Nets. Like we wouldn't expect them to. I can see them beating one of those teams where it's like, oh wow, they beat them. So I can see the Cavs being one of those teams. And then number 2, this is where it starts to get interesting. I have the Los Angeles Clippers. And with them, they're currently 8th in the West. Their record is 27-27, so they're currently 500. And with Kawhi and Paul George out with injury, they are doing really good on offense. Their defense is just dropping. But they have been able to hold their own in games without their 2 best players. They just beat the Lakers without LeBron yesterday. But only by 1 point. But it was still against Russell Westbrook, AD. So it was a good win for them. But they just traded for Norman Powell and Robert Covington as well, so I think Norman Powell will be a good pickup. Robert Covington will be able to play defense. And then, I think with how the team is playing, they might be able to sneak in as an 8th or 7th seed. And then, by then, Kawhi and Paul George might be able to come back for the playoffs. I think Paul George will be able to, it's just if they want him to. And then I'm not sure if Kawhi will be able to come back for the playoffs. But if both of those players can come back for the playoffs, then they're a championship contender for sure. Because with Norman Powell, Robert Covington, they have guys like Marcus Morris, who can drop 20 a night. Reggie Jackson, who could drop 20 a night. Both of them could drop 20 when your stars aren't playing good. So, like, in a game like against the Lakers, when both of them had almost 30, and then Serge Ibaka could do well. They're a really deep team. They can rely on their bench. So if the Kawhi and Paul George end up coming back for the playoffs, I think they could do really good. But before we get to number 1, I just want to say an honorable mention, and that is New Orleans Pelicans. They're currently the 11th seed, but the reason that they're honorable mention is they're number 1 in the trade talks for CJ McCollum. So if they get CJ McCollum, that'll make him better. And eventually Zion will come back. I don't know when that will be. He was supposed to come back a while ago, and he still isn't back. But if they get Zion back on the team because he's been injured, and if they get CJ McCollum, they will be a really good team. But it's not certain if they're going to get CJ. And with Zion Williamson, who knows how long he's going to be out for. But they are pretty close right now. They are 11th, but they're close to being the 10th or 9th seed. So that's why they're an honorable mention. They could make a playoff push. I could see it happening, but I don't think it's really that likely. And then my number 1 is the Denver Nuggets. And with the Denver Nuggets, they're currently the 6th seed. Jokic is basically carrying the whole team. Their second best player is statistically Aaron Gordon. And it's the biggest gap from a best to second best player in the league that's currently in a playoff spot, which is showing that Jokic is carrying the team. But it is very likely that it's almost 100% that Jamal Murray will be back before the playoffs, and Michael Porter Jr. will probably be back before the playoffs. And if they can make it back, I think they could be really scary. That team will be really scary. And with how bad the West has been this year, I can see them beating basically every single team with that lineup. Because let's just say they're the 6th seed. As the standings sit right now, if they were the 6th seed, they would play the Grizzlies. And the Grizzlies are the 3 seed. I can see them beating the Grizzlies. They're just a better team if they have Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. And then in the next round, let's say they go against a team like Golden State or the Suns. It would be a tough series, but I could see them beating one of those teams, and then the conference finals would be either the Suns or Golden State again, however that would turn out. But if the Denver Nuggets were at full strength and they were like the 6th seed, I think this playoffs would be exciting for the West, because it would be between Golden State, Phoenix, Denver, maybe even the Clippers if they can get all their guys back from injury, and then maybe if the Lakers can figure out whatever their situation is. I could see that being very exciting, because right now it's basically between 2 teams, the Suns and the Warriors. But, yeah, we'll see how that turns out. But, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And do all those things. Turn on notifications. That's also a nice thing to do. I would highly appreciate it if you turned on notifications. And bye.